This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
This Week 5 college football slate is nasty. It's not just Penn State taking on Oregon. We, of course, have LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia. Pretty fun game for Ohio State, too, out west. So a lot to dissect for today. We're going to talk to Riley Thomas of FanDuel Research, get his read on those key games, and his favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook. Welcome on into Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research. Joined here, as mentioned, by Riley Thomas. You can find him on X at _Riley8. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a writer for us covering college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA around the corner too. Riley, we are on to Week 5 in college football. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Really excited for this slate. Yeah, it feels good to just kind of get into the full conference play. Obviously, you feel the hatred a little bit more when you get into these kind of games and the fun environments and everything. So, yeah, for me, this is when you really start getting the college football vibes, full go when you get into conference play like this.
Well, you get the actual rivalries, like the LSU Ole Miss game. That's pretty fun. Alabama, Georgia, obviously, but also some budding rivalries with all the conference realignment, like Oregon, Penn State in a couple years. Maybe that does wind up being a decent rivalry just because they're both good teams who will play each other pretty often. So it's both the baked in, the already established rivalries, but also the fun budding rivalries we get just because these games are so important right now.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. I think just that whole Oregon piece, Oregon and Ohio State, I feel like they already hate each other. That's there. It's off season, a month before the season, and Jeremiah Smith is talking about Oregon. So yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's fun. Who doesn't want more rivalries?
I do. Believe me, I very much do. We're going to talk about some of those for today to get you set for Week 5 in college football. Again, picking Riley's brain on his favorite bets for this week. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts. My game-by-game preview of NFL Week number 4 already up, breaking down my thoughts on spreads and totals for all 16 games and which bets I like early in the week at FanDuel Sportsbook. Our breakdown of NFL Week 4 going in-depth on the big games with Brandon Gadula will be up tomorrow morning on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page and the Covering the Spread podcast feed. Props with Aiden Cotter coming up on Friday too. So to get those as they're posted, subscribe to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcasts, but also check us out on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Leave us a thumbs up there and turn on notifications to get these shows as they go live Monday through Friday. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-79-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Now, Riley, we'll dig into the games in a second. But first, some big news. Yesterday, John Mateer undergoing hand surgery for the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Heisman race is already super wide open, but now it's even more wide open. Fernando Mendoza, the lone guy shorter than 10-1 to win, he is plus 850 at FanDuel Sportsbook. I know you're an Indiana guy, been on them a lot the past couple of years, but 850 is not a long number by any means. So I wanted to ask you, any bets you like, any values to you in the Heisman race as things stand?
Yeah, honestly, when it's like this, it's just so tough. I hate saying it, but it's almost like a guessing game when you have this many guys. Like you said, it was kind of already open, and then you get Mateer having surgery. Now it's just Yeah, so I think we have five guys at plus 1,400. So that tells you how far this goes down. But pretty much from plus 1,400 and shorter, the name that stands out to me is Marcel Reed. Obviously, what we just saw on the road against Notre Dame, post 360 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. We all know what we want in a Heisman. You want those gaudy numbers. You want him to show up in the big primetime games everybody's watching. Something else to think about is obviously the schedule. Like, do they have more big opponents coming up? Recency bias is always a thing when you get closer to the actual Heisman. And they get to play Texas on the road last week of the regular season. So say he was to play really well there. A&M's in a great spot. You got to like his chances. But, yeah, just he has potential to put up some really great numbers over the season. And honestly, their schedule, considering how loaded the SEC is right now, it's not too bad. They have road games against, I think it's LSU is end of October, and then at Texas, final week of the regular season. Obviously, those are very tough. But outside of that, the only ranked opponent left on their schedule is a home game against Missouri, which is, I don't know if anybody really knows how they feel about Missouri yet. We haven't seen them play much. But not too bad considering you're in the SEC. So, A&M is really in a great spot here to say, like, make the playoff. I think they're plus 132 right now to make the playoff. So being nationally relevant, appearing in the postseason, you want that. I think all that looks pretty likely. Also, if you're looking at all the quarterbacks, I mean, just this is pretty much quarterback reward at this point. Like, let's be honest, more times than not. Among the quarterbacks, I mean, Reed to me has the best rushing potential. We saw that a lot last year. Not running the ball quite as much this year, but he's still getting you like 50, 60 rushing yards here and there, and that always helps. You can get some extra touchdowns in there and everything when you're looking at that final season stat line. So, yeah, I think among them, I like him, just the way the schedule is for A&M and, just stat potential, really.
Yeah, Marcel Reed right now sitting at 14-1 at FanDuel Sportsbook. Mentioned the big game against Notre Dame. Auburn is on the schedule for them for this week. Texas A&M, 6.5-point favorite in that one as they square off down in A&M for this weekend. Let's dive into some big games for this Saturday slate, Riley. Let's begin things by talking about a very fun game. That's between LSU and Ole Miss. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Ole Miss favored by 1.5. Total in this game sits at 55.5. Ole Miss moneyline sitting at minus 120 as of right now. LSU has passed some pretty key tests already this year, but now facing another big test on Saturday. Who you got coming out on top in this one?
So this is definitely a game where it's, for me, a wait and see. I need to, hear some news closer to the game, and who knows, like maybe we never hear, but the whole Ole Miss quarterback situation is just like totally up in the air. Austin Simmons, of course, starts the first 2 games. He's out the last 2 with a lower body injury. And then you have Trinidad Chambliss come in and just look really, really good. I mean, last week he became the 4th quarterback in Ole Miss history to post 300-plus passing yards and 100-plus rushing yards in the same game. I believe, he's put up over 300 passing yards in both of those games. Pro Football Focus gave him passing grades of 84 or better in both of those games. So he's throwing the ball really well. He hasn't turned it over either. I think that's going to be really important for this LSU game, is a turnover battle. We've already seen Garrett Nussmeier kind of make some silly mistakes, like that Florida game where he was just like threw across the field. It was so ill-advised. It looked like I was watching high school football when he made that play. It was insane. But, so, I mean, on the road in a rough environment, I wouldn't be surprised if Nussmeier maybe, throws a silly pick or something like that. And LSU's defense has been generating 2 takeaways a game, and that's 10th in the nation. So, again, if Ole Miss can take care of that ball and then they get fortunate enough to get like a pick or 2 off of some silly mistakes. So, I mean, interestingly for me, I think I'd go Ole Miss to cover if Chambliss is a starter. Just because I feel better about him taking care of the ball. Austin Simmons had 4 interceptions in 2 starts. Also, I think Chambliss brings a lot more mobility to this offense, and this is already a team that's leaning on the run so far, and that just brings more versatility to that. Also, LSU has some talented pass rushers, and he's going to be able to handle it better probably in terms of scrambling, throwing it away, or making a play. But ultimately, LSU's run game hasn't been very good. They're leaning on the pass. Ole Miss, their secondary's been playing well. They're 10th in the nation in pass success rate allowed. So, that helps. And then also, like I said, LSU just hasn't been running the ball well. And to me, Ole Miss's biggest weakness right now is run defense. And I just don't know how confident I am in LSU running the ball right now. So I could see Ole Miss kind of coming out of this and really winning the run game. And then if they can control that turnover battle as well, I mean, that's a recipe for success at home. But like I said, a lot of this comes down to who's starting. If it's Austin Simmons, I don't know, because you don't have the same mobility. You could get into where he's throwing picks again, and that kind of just tears apart my entire point for Ole Miss. So a lot of this is we kind of have to see if we get any sort of news on that front.
Let's say we don't find out who the starter is, because that's always in range of outcomes for college.
Yeah.
Is it a stay away for you at that point?
More than likely, yeah. I definitely would stay away from the spread, 100%. Money line as well. I mean, if anything, you could spin this into a total, I guess. Sure. I'm not really sure what LSU's team total set at, but an under there would interest me, depending on where it's at. Sure. Just because of what I mentioned. I don't know if they can run the ball and if they, have some turnovers. But that's the only line I maybe would look at if we have no idea going into this. An under there would interest me for sure. I think that's high enough to take an under, but yeah, if it was 20.5, it'd be better. But I would not take anything with the spread or money line if we have no idea.
That makes sense. That team total for LSU right now, 27.5, under is -114. So keeping tabs on the Ole Miss quarterback situation, maybe firing an Ole Miss if Chambliss does wind up starting. Otherwise, potentially the LSU team total, but overall, just waiting for some information on who Ole Miss will roll out there at quarterback. Another big SEC game is between Alabama and Georgia. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Georgia favored by 2.5. Total in this game sits at 52.5 as well. And obviously, Alabama had that big loss in week 1, but they've steadied themselves since then. Mm-hmm. Can they keep it rolling against Georgia, or does Georgia remain undefeated here, Riley?
Yeah, so this is one where I am avoiding the spread, but I am interested in some totals here, mainly Alabama to go over 24.5 points. And this ties into a passing prop for Ty Simpson to go over 265.5 passing yards as well. So obviously we all saw what happened last time Georgia played. They were on the road against Tennessee. Secondary got absolutely lit up. They gave up over 370 passing yards, over 10 yards per passing attempt, just tons of big plays and gashes. And going into that game, that was something I was concerned about. I was on Tennessee passing props and stuff in that game. We saw Georgia's secondary just hasn't looked good. And after that game, they're all the way down to 97th in expected points added allowed per dropback. So again, not what we're used to with the Georgia defense. But yeah, like you mentioned, Alabama, they granted, it's not the same level of competition, but they have, been looking a lot better. And overall, the positive for this team right now, even in that week 1 loss, Ty Simpson, their quarterback, has not looked bad. He's not turning the ball over. The last 2 games, he's been really good. PFF gave him passing grades over 90 in both games. And then obviously we all know the threat of Ryan Williams, one of the best, big play threats in the country. And you're facing a secondary that's just giving up a ton of big plays right now. Probably not going to bode well for Georgia in terms of just, what they've been struggling with. And on top of this, Alabama, they're returning running back Jam Miller for this game, and he had 668 rushing yards last year. Right now, Alabama really hasn't run the ball much, so obviously adding somebody like that in and giving you maybe a little bit more balance always helps. But yeah, overall, I can't get past what we're seeing from Georgia's secondary. And then you look into Ty Simpson, and has 90+ passing grades on attempts of 20 or more yards and on attempts of 10 to 19 yards. So he's been doing really well at pushing the ball downfield. And like I said, you have Ryan Williams you're throwing to, and that just, furthers the agenda even more.
As mentioned, that Alabama team total right now at FanDuel Sportsbook is 24.5. Over for them is -114. The Simpson passing prop you were alluding to is 265.5. Over there is -114 as well. And I feel like with Georgia, if you think about the reputation they have and all churning out all these NFL players, it's probably hard for people to kind of accept that maybe the struggles are going to be sticky here. But it sounds like based on what you're saying, You thought this might be an issue previously. They've kind of confirmed that. So it sounds like that's why you want to keep buying in.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think it's comparable to what Tennessee had, and honestly, they're probably not going to see as many like big play passing attacks as the regular season goes on. But I mean, you saw what Aguilar and Braswell did to them, and I think Simpson and Marion Williams. I mean, it's a similar comparison. I mean, you can just throw it up deep to a guy for 70 yards, and yeah, I mean, it's honestly a tough matchup considering with what they've been struggling with. I mean, they come off a bye, so maybe they look better. I'm sure they will. I mean, it's Kirby Smart, but I think 24.5 is still low enough to go for an over for their team total.
Preference for you between the Simpson passing prop and the team total over?
I'd go team total just because I'm interested to see how they want to use the run game. Like I said, big piece coming back there, so maybe their pass play rate isn't as high as we've seen all year.
Sure.
So of the two, I'd lean into the team total.
All right, that again is 24.5 over -114. The Simpson passing prop 265.5 over is also -114. Final big game we're going to break down for today, more in depth, is a fun one. That is Oregon taking on Penn State in Happy Valley for this weekend. Penn State favored by 3.5 in this one. The total sits at 51.5, and honestly, neither team super tested as of yet. Haven't faced a ton of great teams. We're going to get a good read on them in this one, Riley. What's your view of how things stand entering Oregon versus Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, I still think this is going to be an exciting, fun game. It helps when you have a great environment in a night game, but I don't expect many points in this one. I am on the under 51.5 there. So we're accustomed with Oregon football kind of pushing pace and, throwing the ball downfield and all of that. But so far, and like you mentioned, they're facing lesser teams. Oregon still has a really high rush play rate right now. It's actually the 31st highest in the country, and that's out of about, I think it's 136 teams. So, they're running the ball a lot. And obviously you have a new starter in Dante Moore. He hasn't seen, a team like this on the road before. So again, I don't think they're going to go away from that identity totally and just, go out there and throw the ball a million times. Plus, we still have questions about their wide receiver situation. When, just last minute, before the year starts, Evan Stewart gets a long-term injury. So I don't see Oregon suddenly just going away from running the ball a lot. You just look at like anything pace-wise for them. They're 97th or lower for plays per game and seconds per play. So as in they're taking a lot of time to snap the ball. They're not getting a lot of plays in games. And Penn State's kind of interesting right now with you want to look at like their pass play rate versus the rush play rate. They're actually throwing the ball quite a bit, but not something I expect to continue. We all know the running backs they have, Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, probably the best tandem in college football, hands down. And I just don't – if Oregon is kind of pushing this like let's run the ball and it gets into a slow pace, I don't see Penn State kind of running away from that and pushing the pace. I mean, they're home. They have a good environment behind them. I think Penn State has a better defense. I have way more faith in their run defense compared to Oregon. Oregon right now, they're 72nd in rush success rate allowed. So I think we're going to get into a situation here where it's just a lot of running the ball, and you get into that clock is just going to go, and then you don't have many points. Both pass defenses are top 17 in expected points added allowed per drop back. So again, tough secondaries. Maybe you don't want to air it out too much. So I'm definitely leaning on the under with these game lines.
Yeah, as mentioned, that total at FanDuel Sportsbook, 51.5, over sitting at -105. You mentioned you've got some faith in this Penn State offense to run the football effectively against Oregon, not as much on the Oregon side. But it sounds like, so you could potentially look at Penn State and betting on them, but I feel like I agree with your overall thesis of if I think this clock's going to run, rather than picking effectiveness, I'm going to pick on the overall like mentality and overall approach and side with the under instead. So I think that's kind of like your rationale here is I feel more firm in this game being run heavy and thus fast and not involving a lot of plays than you feel like one team having success over the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what you said before I even went into this is like, we don't know. I mean, these teams are good. We know that, but it's like, who have you played so far? And we're going to learn a lot. So, I wouldn't be like completely shocked if Oregon could come out with this, but either way, I don't expect a ton of points. We need to learn some stuff about both teams.
and we will learn plenty on Saturday night. Looking forward to that for sure. So Riley on the under for Oregon Penn State, 51.5 at -105. All right, Riley, plenty of other fun games on the board on Saturday as well. So where else is seeing value for this week at FanDuel Sportsbook?
I want to look at the Ohio State-Washington game. Sneaky, fun one here. Washington's quietly, looked good. They haven't really faced anybody yet, but it's pretty easy to see what their running back, Jonah Coleman, is doing. He has 347 rushing yards already, 9 rushing touchdowns, 6.8 yards per carry, 5.12 yards after contact per carry, which is absurd. But so Washington's an interesting team. But so far they're just leaning really, really heavy on the run, and then they're averaging like over 12 yards per passing attempt. So it's kind of just like a run you to death, and then we'll just take a shot here and there. But so overall my feel on this game is I just don't see that working against Ohio State. I mean, we know the defense they have, and I mean their secondary. To me, I mean, Jeremiah Smith, obviously everybody's going to talk about the receiving core, but I think you can firmly make a case that the secondary is the best part of their team right now. Obviously, Caleb Downs, their cornerback play has been really good, and Denzel Burke was a good corner for them, but I just think they're getting way more consistency out of Jermaine Matthews starting at one of those corner spots this season. So I don't think they're going to give up those big plays. And then when you got Ohio State just kind of selling out on the run, and you have one of the better linebacker duos in the country right now is Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. Caden McDonald, one of their defensive tackles, he's flirting with a first-round grade right now. Styles is flirting with a first-round grade right now. So, they have a couple guys in their run defense that's frankly just overperforming, and they already had high expectations coming into the year. Arvell Reese has been I mean, outside of Kalen Downs, I would say he's their second best player on defense right now. He's been insane. They're just moving him all over the field, constantly making tackles for loss, sacks, everything. So just running the ball right into the teeth of that defense, and secondary that's not really getting up big plays can be tough. So just leaning on what we saw from them playing Texas week 1, I think Ohio State will come out of here with a cover, and it helps that the spread's been coming down. I think a couple days ago it was at 10.5, so getting it at 8.5 here helps. Just another thing with the whole Ohio State cover aspect is Washington's pass defense has not been good, and like I said, they haven't been playing great teams either. They're 70th in the country right now in expected points added allowed per drop back. Obviously, we know, Ohio State's receivers, like mentioned, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, all those guys. And Julian Sain, their quarterback, he's been solid so far. Texas, they didn't open the playbook at all. Obviously, it was a very vanilla game plan, but they're opening it up a little bit more against lesser opponents these last 2 weeks. And Sands posted over 300 passing yards in both of those games. But yeah, I mean, Washington's defense has injury concerns as well. Their top cornerback, Takaria Davis, he's questionable for this. They're still without their nickel corner, Dyson McCutcheon. So obviously that doesn't really bode well against probably the best receiving core in the country. So I think there's just going to be a lot of wide open targets for Sain, and I could see him going over his passing prop of 255.5 yards. So we have a lot of stuff here where I'm just I don't know if Washington can just really just run it over and over again and have success against, one of the best defenses in the country. If your secondary looks vulnerable and you have injuries, probably not going to go well against great receivers. So I think it could be fun for a while, but I think Ohio State ultimately pulls away.
Yeah, that same prop, the passing prop, 255.5 over is -114. And it sounds like you got a couple of routes to cashing that -8.5 on Ohio State. It could be just the defense is suffocating and matches up well with what Washington wants to do. Or it could just be Sain lights him up. That sounds like, to me, 2 routes to covering 8.5. Yeah, it's a big number, but as I said, it's come down across 10. That's beneficial here. You're laying -108 on this. I think that, I want bets that have multiple routes to cashing, and it sounds like we have that here with Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Washington can do beyond this, because I mean, this game, say if they lose this by 20, I don't think it defines them. I think they could be pretty good still.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, you're not going to face teams that are, potentially fielding 2 NFL linebackers and a top 5 pick and Caleb Downs, and just running against that is tough. Yeah. It's just not a great matchup for them, in my opinion.
All righty. So Riley is on the Buckeyes here, laying the 8.5 at -108, but then also the Sand passing prop, 255.5 at -115. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Again, back with you once again tomorrow. We're going to break down NFL Week number 4 in depth with Brandon Gadula, NFL player props on Friday. My game-by-game breakdown for Week 4 already up on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page and Covering the Spread podcast feed as well. Riley, appreciate the time. Good luck to you in college football week number 5. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you once again soon.
I appreciate you having me on. Should be a great weekend of games. Enjoy it.
Very much looking forward to it. Find Riley on X at _Riley8. I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes. You can find me at Threads at Jim.Sannes and find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your Week 5 college football bets. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Get you set for NFL Week number 4. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.